Hello, Will Perry here. How you doing? Welcome to another day of keeping the conversation alive. How are you doing? Now, today, why low self-esteem is the real pandemic, and why we need to act now. So, this was an interesting one. Maybe you've come across this. So, let me tell you why. Low self-esteem is the real pandemic. So we are the problem, and you probably heard me talk about that for a while. I've talked about generation trapped. We are, I believe, generation trapped. We're stuck in all these different issues when we don't see the one at the centre of it. And that's what I specialise in. And that's what I'm so passionate about. That's what I've struggled with for so long and developed the way through that. So I'm kind of aware that we are generationally the problem. And obviously in the last 18 months or so, COVID has kind of hit the world and rocked us and created many things, really. And I think I've seen some stats, I'll share them with you in a second, about Generation Z or Gen Z, depending on where you are in the world, as to what you call them, and what they are facing, what they are growing up with, what their future looks like. And that's the next generation on from us, or two, depending on how old you are or young you are, actually. So I've got a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old, as well as a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Bit of a gap there, bit of a story. But the two boys, the 16 and the 21-year-old, they're in Generation Z, Gen Z. And really, for me, the question is, what will we do? What will we do? Because where am I going? The stats. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down to the stats. So the Gen Z category is 16 to 22-year-olds now. That's Gen Z, and the stats have shown that they're significantly unhappier, significantly lonelier, less confident, and less satisfied with life than older people. So. Yeah, I mean, isn't that troubling? Isn't that worrying for you? If you've got younger kids, that's what this generation is facing now. That's what the stats are suggesting now and showing now, demonstrating now. More stats. In 2015, 14.8% of 14-year-olds were depressed or reported as depressed, compared to 9% in 2005. So in 10 years, from 2005 to 2015, has jumped from 9% to 14.8% in 14-year-olds being depressed. In 2017, the survey said 33% of Gen Z lacked confidence to lead. And who's going to lead, take the lead out of the situation that we're facing? And in 2021, so earlier on this year, less than 40% of Gen Z were feeling positive about the future. Less than 40% were feeling positive about the future. Isn't that shocking? What are they growing up with? They've grown up with, the global warming as a, I'm just kind of waking up to this whole issue. I guess I've grown up with it over the last 10 years, but that's not grown up with it. I'm aware of it over the last 10 years, but I'm only really now waking up to the global issues. Planet B is new. There is no Planet B. Is a phrase that's used quite a lot. Plan B, and it seems from the reports that Gen Z are very much aware of this, and it's creating doom and gloom, and the highest levels of anxiety. I don't think I've got that actually. Are more depressed, but the highest levels of anxiety as well within Gen Z, and it's and we're seeing that in the stats now. I've shared many a thing about stats of depression and anxiety, but to have that in that generation, of kids, that's shocking to me. So low self-esteem for me is a cultural and generational issue. That's why I'm saying that's the real pandemic at the moment. It's just getting worse. It's compounding. It's building momentum because it is passed down. Self-esteem is passed down through the generations. You don't sit down and today we will learn about self-esteem, and you don't take notes and then go, oh, that's where I need to be with my self-esteem. This is learnt through your culture, your values, your everything in your family. And it's been passed on. That's how it's been passed on for the last few generations, and this goes back to the kind of global issues with it, with commercialized globalized economies, and look at social media now. Again, Gen Z is very much associated with social media. Comparing yourself against the next person, photoshopped, aspirational likes, and the impact of that, social bullying, suicide rates. There's so much being said about that. What are they facing? They're facing doom and gloom, and it's awful. How shocking is that? So the stats I found were shocking. That confidence is at an all-time low, anxiety and depression are at an all-time high. And that's in the next generation, or the current generation, the boomers now, or is that boomers? There's another generation, baby boomers. So that's just shocking and awful, and that's the reality of the situation. So we, I say we as parents, these are my kids. All my kids are in this category. The 2-year-old and the 5-year-old. They haven't got to this stage yet, obviously. The 16-year-old and the 21-year-old, they're right in this. They've grown up with this, and we are the biggest influencers. So we as parents, we are. If you're not a parent, then maybe you're an aunt and uncle, or maybe you will have an influence with kids, and we are the biggest influence. All right, we are the biggest influence to this and the next generation, and we need to lead now. We need to help them grow their self-esteem. We need to help them come out of anxiety, come out of depression, be able to lead, be able to be the solution that they need to be, that we weren't able to be. But we can still influence that by starting to take the lead, growing our self-esteem, growing our confidence through our self-esteem. Confidence and self-esteem are quite separate, but growing our confidence through growing our healthy self-esteem, and taking the lead on issues and making a stand, being proud to be who we are, making a stand without worrying what other people think. We need to be that now and help them learn from us. They will still learn from us. All right. So my invitation to you, how many minutes now? 7 minutes. I'm going to stop there. We need to take the lead now. If you don't want to take the lead, that's up to you. But my invitation is to you is to take action. Ask me what to do. Engage in the conversation. Say what to do. I'll say this sort of stuff. Take the test. Have a look at the webinar if you haven't looked at the webinar, because in that I explain what my solution is to helping people grow their self-esteem. But don't just sit there. Please don't just sit there. Especially if you have low self-esteem. If you don't know you have low self-esteem, take the test. Comment, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Get involved in the conversation. But don't just sit there. Help them now by growing your self-esteem, because if they are growing up around your low self-esteem, you can only teach them low self-esteem. You can't teach them healthy self-esteem if you don't have it yourself. All right, so please don't just sit there and keep influencing them with your low self-esteem. And then that's I say that with no judgment at all. Please believe me, I say that with no judgment upon you. But find out whether you have low self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem, don't just sit there and go, oh, well, I knew I was rubbish. I knew I was shit. I knew I was crap. I knew I was useless. I knew I was no good. What's the point in the test? That's not the case. That's just a lie up here, a false belief that has become so big, so solid that you think it's the truth. It's not. And let me help you see what it for what it is, which is a false negative belief. Okay, so please don't sit there. Let's help them now, because they're the ones that need to change the world, but we can make that start. Lots of love to you. Many thanks. And let me know what you think on this. Do you think I'm off on a rant and completely missing the mark, or am I onto something? I don't need you to tell me I'm onto something. I know I'm onto something. I don't say that with arrogance, but what's your reaction to what I'm saying? All right, many thanks. Lots of love. Loves you, boy. Bye-bye.